Imagine you are walking down the street, surrounded by people who are too busy with their own lives. Yet, your mind is consumed by what others think of you. You wonder if they're judging your appearance, your actions, or your decisions. Why does it feel like everyone's eyes are on you, even when you're just living your own life? Why do we often feel the weight of others' opinions so strongly, even when they may not even care? Does your day revolve around what others might say or think about your choices? Do you find yourself constantly comparing yourself to others, feeling like you're never enough? Or perhaps you feel trapped in the cycle of trying to fit in or be liked by others just to feel at peace? We all experience these thoughts and struggles, but what if there's a way out? What if the key to true freedom lies in breaking the chains of other people's expectations? Is it possible to live a life without constantly worrying about others' opinions? The answer might surprise you. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you're at a party, and everyone around you is chatting and laughing. You feel the urge to say something witty, but the thought pops into your head. What if they think I sound silly? In that moment, the fear of judgment holds you back. You stay quiet, retreating into yourself, unsure of how others perceive you. Sound familiar? This is what happens when our minds are trapped in the judgment of others. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, a place where we dive into the heart of personal growth and self-discovery. In this video, we'll uncover why our thoughts often revolve around others and explore how we can break free from this cycle. If this resonates with you, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, share, and subscribe to our channel. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please, hit that subscribe button and join our community. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let's take a deep dive into understanding why we care so much about what others think and how we can overcome it, starting with the root of this mental burden. The root of attachment, understanding the mind's clinging. When we think about why we care so much about what others think, it's essential to look deeper, to understand the root of it all. At the heart of this is attachment, the way our minds cling to external validation and the approval of others. It's a natural human instinct to seek acceptance. But what we don't realize is how much this attachment pulls us away from our true selves. From the moment we are born, we are taught to look outward for our sense of value. Parents, teachers, and society all place expectations on us. We learn early on that our worth is somehow connected to how we perform, how we are seen by others. Over time, this idea becomes so ingrained that we begin to define ourselves through the eyes of others. We let their judgments, opinions, and perceptions shape who we are. Have you ever noticed how much we care about how we look, how we speak, or how others view our actions? It's as if every move we make is carefully calculated to avoid criticism. But in reality, this constant worrying about what others think only creates mental chains that prevent us from experiencing true freedom. The more we attach ourselves to these external sources of approval, the less we connect with our own inner peace. Attachment to others' views is not just about wanting to be liked. It's about the fear of rejection, the fear of being judged. This fear keeps us locked in a mental prison. We constantly ask ourselves, will they approve of me? Will they like what I do? What if they don't? These questions fill our minds with anxiety and doubt, and it becomes a cycle we can't escape. Every action is measured, every word is weighed. We become slaves to this attachment. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering. When we attach ourselves to anything outside of ourselves, be it people, possessions, or ideas, we begin to create unnecessary suffering. Our minds become restless, always craving something more, always seeking approval, always fearing judgment. This restlessness keeps us from finding true contentment. But here's the thing. Attachment is not the natural state of our minds. It's something that we have learned over time. It's a habit, a pattern that has been formed through years of conditioning. Imagine how much lighter you would feel if you let go of this attachment to others' opinions. Imagine if you didn't have to worry about what others think when you make a decision, or speak your mind, or even just exist. The key to understanding this attachment is to look at our relationship with ourselves. Do you find it easy to approve of yourself, or do you need constant reassurance from others to feel validated? When you look in the mirror, do you see someone worthy, or do you see someone who needs to live up to others' expectations? This disconnect between our true selves and the version of ourselves we present to the world is what creates inner turmoil. The more we attach our sense of worth to the approval of others, the more we lose touch with who we really are. But if we can begin to detach from this constant need for validation, we can rediscover a deeper sense of self, one that is not defined by the opinions of others, but by our own inner wisdom and peace. It's not about ignoring others or isolating yourself from the world. It's about not letting others' views control your thoughts, your feelings, or your actions. It's about understanding that you don't need to live up to someone else's idea of who you should be. You are enough as you are. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness helps us become aware of our attachments and how they influence our lives. By simply observing our thoughts without judgment, we begin to see how much of our mental energy is consumed by worries about others' opinions. Once we become aware of this, we can start to let go of these attachments. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring about others altogether. It doesn't mean we stop being compassionate or considerate. It means that we stop depending on others' approval to feel good about ourselves. It means that we stop letting the opinions of others dictate our choices and our happiness. When you can begin to see the attachment to others' opinions for what it is, an illusion that keeps you trapped, you will feel lighter, freer, and more confident. This doesn't happen overnight, but with time, it becomes easier to detach from these external sources of validation. The more you practice letting go, the more you will realize that you don't need anyone's approval to be at peace. You have everything you need within yourself. You don't need to cling to anyone or anything outside of you for validation. The true path to happiness lies in accepting yourself fully, without the need for external validation. Buddhism teaches that when we let go of attachment, we can experience a state of true freedom. It's a freedom that comes from within. You stop being swayed by the opinions of others and instead become anchored in your own sense of self. Your thoughts become clear, your mind becomes still, and your heart becomes open. So, the next time you find yourself obsessing over what others think, take a step back and ask yourself, am I attached to their opinion of me? Am I allowing their judgment to shape my thoughts, my actions, my peace? When you can answer no to this question, you will begin to experience the liberation that comes from truly understanding the nature of attachment. In the end, the root of attachment is not something we can remove overnight. But with practice, with mindfulness, and with an understanding of its true nature, we can begin to loosen its grip on our minds. And when we do, we will find that we are no longer bound by others' opinions. We will be free, breaking free, the art of letting go. Letting go. It's something we hear often, but it's not always easy to understand. Imagine holding a heavy bag that you've been carrying for so long. At first, you didn't mind the weight, but over time, it started to wear you down. The bag became a part of you, something you could never put down. Now, imagine the relief you'd feel if you simply let go. You've carried it for so long that it feels strange not to have it in your hands anymore. But in that moment of release, a sense of freedom washes over you. This is what it feels like when we let go of the need to worry about others. It's not just about dropping the opinions of others. It's about dropping the weight we carry in our minds, the constant thoughts that circle around the judgment, expectations, and the need for approval. Our minds are like that bag, constantly filled with thoughts of what others think. But what if we could set that burden down? You see, the need to impress others, to be seen in a certain light, doesn't come from the world around us. It's something we create within ourselves. We make it our mission to be liked, to be accepted, to be praised. But where does this really get us? It drains our energy, fills us with anxiety, and often leaves us feeling empty inside. We become so attached to these thoughts that we forget the most important truth. We do not need to be validated by others to feel whole. Imagine you're sitting quietly by a river, watching the water flow effortlessly. The river doesn't stop to ask if anyone is watching or if its beauty is being appreciated. It flows simply because that's what it was born to do. What if we could live like that, just flowing with life, not needing the approval of others to feel fulfilled? When we stop seeking validation, we open ourselves up to the truth of who we really are. We begin to recognize that our worth does not depend on the opinions of those around us. It's a hard truth to face, but it's also a freeing one. You don't have to perform. You don't have to fit into anyone else's mold. You can simply be, and in being, you are enough. At first, letting go feels uncomfortable. It feels like stepping into the unknown, like leaving behind something that has been a part of you for so long. It's like taking off an old, worn-out coat that you're used to, even though it's full of holes. The thought of walking outside without it might make you feel exposed, vulnerable. But once you step out, you realize you don't need the coat at all. You feel lighter, freer, and more alive than you've ever felt. This is what it's like to let go of the need for approval. It's not about rejecting people or their opinions. It's about recognizing that those opinions have no power over you unless you give them that power. You are in control of your life, and it's time to take back that control. Letting go also means forgiving yourself. It means letting go of the mistakes you've made, the regrets you carry, and the shame that holds you back. We often carry these things as if they are part of who we are, but they are not. They are simply experiences we've had, and they don't define us. The real you, the true essence of who you are, is beyond these temporary experiences. In Buddhism, there's a powerful teaching called anatta, or the concept of non-self. This teaching encourages us to understand that our identity is not fixed, that we are not our thoughts, our emotions, or the labels others place on us. We are ever-changing, ever-evolving beings, and when we let go of the idea of a permanent, rigid self, we free ourselves from the need to conform or seek approval. We can begin this process by simply noticing when we are holding on. When you catch yourself thinking about what others think of you, pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Is it worth the energy I'm giving it? More often than not, the answer is no. The more we practice this awareness, the easier it becomes to let go. Over time, the weight starts to lift, and the mind becomes lighter, calmer. You might wonder, but what if I lose friends or people stop liking me? This fear is natural, but it's important to remember that true connections come from authenticity, not from trying to please others. The right people will appreciate you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. When you let go of trying to please everyone, you make space for the real, genuine connections that bring meaning to your life. Letting go also opens up space for you to focus on what truly matters: your own growth, your own peace, and your own happiness. You begin to ask yourself, what do I need to feel fulfilled? Instead of constantly asking, what do others need from me? The shift in focus is profound. You stop living for others and start living for yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of a deep respect for your own well-being. There will always be people who judge, criticize, or offer unsolicited opinions. That is part of life. But you have a choice in how you respond. You can choose to hold on to their judgments, or you can choose to let them go. You can choose to be at peace with yourself, regardless of what others think. Imagine, for a moment, a life where you no longer worry about the opinions of others. Imagine waking up each day with the freedom to be yourself, to make choices based on what feels right for you, not on what others expect. It's a life full of possibility, full of peace, full of joy. This life is within reach, and it begins with the simple act of letting go. As you continue to practice this, you'll notice that the world around you starts to shift. People may still have opinions, but they won't affect you in the same way. You'll find that your mind becomes quieter, your heart lighter, and most importantly, you'll discover a deeper connection with yourself and with the world around you. You will no longer be defined by others' expectations, but by the truth of who you really are. This is the power of letting go. It's the path to freedom, to peace, and to a life where you can truly be yourself. The illusion of judgment, why others' opinions don't matter. In the stillness of your mind, take a moment to reflect. Why do we care so much about how others see us? Why do their words or looks seem to affect us deeply, like stones thrown into a calm pond, rippling through our thoughts? You might think that others' opinions hold weight, that they shape who you are, or that they define your worth. But the truth is, these judgments are just illusions, thoughts that arise and pass away like clouds in the sky. Imagine for a moment a time when you were so focused on what someone else thought of you that it affected your peace. Maybe it was a comment about your work, your clothes, or your choices. Perhaps you found yourself replaying their words over and over in your head, wondering if they were right. But was there any real truth to it? Was that opinion based on who you truly are, Or was it just a fleeting thought of someone else, shaped by their own experiences, fears, and biases? The reality is, the judgments of others are not based on who you are, they are based on how they perceive you. Then what do perceptions really mean? Perceptions are temporary, shifting like the seasons. They are formed through their own lenses of past experiences, insecurities, and projections. Just as a tree does not change because of a passerby's opinion, your essence does not shift because of someone's fleeting judgment. Think of a leaf that falls from a tree. It floats gently to the ground, unnoticed by most. But it is still part of the cycle of nature. The leaf doesn't concern itself with whether people notice it, praise it, or criticize it. It simply exists. In the same way, you are like that leaf, part of the greater whole of existence, simply being who you are without the need for approval or recognition. The opinions of others do not define your value. They only reflect their own state of mind. What if, instead of trying to please everyone or meet their expectations, you simply focused on your own peace? What if you didn't let someone else's judgment disturb your inner harmony? The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment to things, people, and yes, even to how others see us. When we are attached to their opinions, we invite suffering into our lives because we allow something outside of us to control how we feel inside. But true freedom comes when we release that attachment and let go of the need for approval. At first, it might seem difficult. The habit of seeking validation from others runs deep. But imagine the freedom you would feel if you stopped caring about what others thought. What would it feel like to walk into a room, not wondering if people are watching or judging, but simply being present in the moment? This is the essence of true freedom, the ability to exist without the need for external validation. When you let go of this attachment, something remarkable happens. You begin to experience peace. You stop trying to fit into a mold or meet a standard that was never yours to begin with. Instead, you start to live authentically, from a place of inner strength and calm. The opinions of others become irrelevant, like passing clouds that have no real impact on your life. Now, this doesn't mean you stop caring about others in a healthy way. It doesn't mean you become indifferent or lose compassion. What it means is that you stop giving away your power to people who don't truly understand your journey. You stop letting their judgments affect your sense of self. You begin to understand that, just like you, they are on their own path, shaped by their own experiences and struggles. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you're at work, and you present an idea to your colleagues. Someone criticizes it, saying it's not good enough. In that moment, you might feel hurt, as though their judgment defines your worth. But what if you reminded yourself that their opinion is just that, an opinion? It's not the truth about you. It's simply a reflection of their thoughts, their mood, or their perspective. And when you let go of the need to be validated by their judgment, you can look at the situation with clarity. Maybe their criticism is valid and something you can learn from, or maybe it's not. Either way, it doesn't change who you are. The Buddha often spoke about the importance of detachment, not from people or life itself, but from the need for external approval. When we detach from the opinions of others, we create space for our own thoughts and feelings to flourish. We stop filtering ourselves through the lens of others and start seeing life with our own eyes, free from the constraints of judgment. Why do we fear judgment so much? The truth is, we fear judgment because we are attached to our ego. The ego is the part of us that believes we need to be accepted, to be seen as valuable in the eyes of others. But the ego is just a story we tell ourselves. It's not who we truly are. We are not our ego, and we are not the judgments others place upon us. Our true self is beyond judgment. It is pure, unchanging, and connected to the universe in ways we can't fully comprehend. When we release the need for others' approval, we begin to understand something deeper, that our value doesn't come from others. It comes from within. Your worth is not determined by how many people like you or agree with you. Your worth is inherent, simply because you exist. You are part of the universe, and the universe doesn't judge itself. It simply is. Imagine how much energy you could save if you stopped worrying about what others thought of you. How much peace would you have if you didn't spend your days analyzing and second-guessing their opinions? What if you could step outside of that constant cycle of worry and just live, knowing that you are enough as you are? This is the freedom that comes from letting go of judgment. And remember, The next time someone's opinion tries to make its way into your thoughts, ask yourself, is this truly important? Is this a reflection of who I am? Or is it just another passing thought, a fleeting judgment that has no lasting impact on my life? The more you ask yourself these questions, the more you'll begin to see how irrelevant others' judgments really are. The path to freedom is not about changing others' perceptions of you. It's about changing your perception of yourself. When you stop seeking validation and start living authentically, you align yourself with your true purpose. You start to live in harmony with your inner self, unaffected by the noise and distractions of the world around you. This is where true peace lies, not in pleasing others, but in pleasing your own soul. So, let go of the illusion of judgment. Release the need for approval. Embrace the truth that you are enough, just as you are. And in doing so, you will find the peace and freedom that come from living without the burden of others' opinions. Finding inner peace, the Buddhist path to mental freedom. When you wake up each day, there's a constant noise in your mind. It's like a stream of thoughts rushing in. Thoughts about the past, the future, what others think of you, and how you should behave. It's overwhelming, isn't it? You try to find peace, but your mind never seems to quiet down. It's as if you're always running after something, trying to grasp something that's just out of reach. But what if true peace isn't something you need to chase? What if it's already within you, waiting for you to stop searching outside? Buddhism teaches us that the key to inner peace lies not in what happens around us, but in how we respond to what happens. Imagine your mind as a calm lake. When the wind blows, ripples form on the surface. These ripples are like our thoughts. When the mind is disturbed, it reflects the chaos of the world. But when we learn to calm the mind, the surface becomes still, and the true nature of the lake is revealed. The stillness doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. The peace you seek isn't somewhere else. It's already in you, waiting to be uncovered. The first step towards inner peace is acknowledging the nature of your thoughts. Most of the time, we don't even realize that we are trapped in a cycle of overthinking. We dwell on things that happened in the past, replay conversations, or worry about what might happen in the future. All this does is cloud the mind and create unnecessary stress. Buddhist teachings remind us that the past is gone and the future is uncertain. The only reality we have is the present moment. The more we stay anchored in the present, the more peaceful our minds become. But how do we stay in the present moment when our minds are constantly wandering? One powerful practice in Buddhism is mindfulness. Mindfulness is simply the art of being fully present in whatever you are doing, without judgment or distraction. It's about paying attention to your breath, the sensations in your body, the sounds around you. Just being aware of what's happening right now. When you focus on the present moment, the noise of the past and future fades away. You become like a tree standing still in the midst of a storm, unshaken by the chaos around you. At first, mindfulness can seem difficult. Your mind will want to wander, and you'll find yourself distracted by countless thoughts. But with practice, it becomes easier. Every time you bring your attention back to the present moment, you strengthen your ability to remain calm and centered. It's like training a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger your ability to stay peaceful becomes. Another important lesson from Buddhism is letting go. Holding on to anger, resentment, or regret only weighs you down. It's like carrying a heavy stone in your backpack every day. You may not notice the weight at first, but over time, it becomes exhausting. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or ignoring what has happened. It means freeing yourself from the emotional attachment that keeps you stuck in the past. It's about accepting what is, without clinging to it. When you let go of these heavy emotions, your heart feels lighter and your mind becomes clearer. This is where forgiveness plays a huge role. Forgiveness isn't about excusing someone else's behavior or pretending that nothing happened. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of holding on to pain. When you forgive, you release yourself from the grip of anger or hurt. You stop letting the actions of others control your emotional state. And in doing so, you find peace within yourself. Buddhism also teaches us the importance of compassion. Compassion is not just for others, it's for yourself too. When you practice compassion, you stop being so hard on yourself. You begin to accept your imperfections, understanding that you are doing the best you can in each moment. Instead of criticizing yourself for your mistakes, you learn to approach them with kindness and understanding. This gentleness allows your mind to relax and find peace in the midst of life's challenges. One of the greatest obstacles to inner peace is the ego. The ego constantly seeks validation, recognition, and control. It creates a sense of separation between you and others, making you believe that you are distinct and separate from everyone else. But this sense of separation is an illusion. In reality, we are all interconnected. The more you feed your ego, the more restless and unsatisfied you become. But when you let go of the need for approval and start to see yourself as part of the whole, your mind begins to quiet. The ego becomes less dominant, and you experience a deeper sense of peace. Inner peace isn't something that happens overnight. It's a journey, a practice that requires patience, dedication, and self-awareness. It's about understanding that peace isn't something you need to search for. It's already within you. The more you clear away the distractions, the more the peace that's always been there will emerge. You might wonder, but how can I remain peaceful in the face of adversity? Life is filled with challenges, and it's natural to feel upset or anxious at times. But the key is how you respond to those challenges. When you practice mindfulness, letting go, and compassion, you create a foundation of inner strength. This strength doesn't come from trying to control the world around you. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you have the ability to remain calm and centered within. Think about the people around you. They might be living their lives in the same chaotic state of mind that you are. But the moment you find inner peace, you begin to radiate calmness. It's like a ripple effect. When you become peaceful within yourself, others start to feel it too. You may even inspire them to seek the same peace for themselves. This is how true transformation happens. Not by forcing others to change, but by changing yourself. So, if you're seeking peace, stop looking outside for it. It's not in the next job, the next relationship, or the next achievement. True peace comes from within, from cultivating a calm and focused mind, from letting go of the past, and from embracing the present moment. The Buddhist path to inner peace is not a quick fix or a magic formula. It's a lifelong journey of self-discovery and growth. But once you begin to walk this path, you'll find that peace is not something to achieve, it's something to remember. And as you remember it, you'll start to experience the freedom that comes with living in harmony with yourself and the world around you. The power of detachment, observing without absorbing. Imagine you are standing by a peaceful river. The water flows steadily, with no rush, just calmly moving along its path. Above the river, there are birds flying, some drifting slowly, others darting from one place to another. The sound of the water is soothing, and the birds seem to be completely unbothered by anything around them. In this moment, the river and the birds exist in their own space, unaffected by the world around them. This is the kind of detachment we are talking about, the ability to observe without being swept away by the current of external influences. Now think about your own life. How often do you find yourself caught up in the whirlpool of opinions, judgments, and emotions that others project onto you? It's easy to get swept away, isn't it? Someone makes a passing comment, and suddenly, you're stuck in your head, replaying their words over and over. You wonder, did I say the wrong thing? Did I offend them? Why didn't they like my idea? All these questions, these worries, swirl around your mind like a whirlwind, pulling you deeper into the storm of your thoughts. But what if you didn't have to react? What if, instead of getting caught up in the emotional tides of the world around you, you could simply watch them as they come and go, like clouds passing through the sky? This is where the power of detachment comes in. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about others or stop being involved in life. It doesn't mean that you remove yourself from relationships, responsibilities, or emotions. No, detachment is about not letting these things control your inner peace. It's about observing life without letting it absorb you. It's about being present without being consumed by the external world. Think about the times when you felt stressed or anxious. Perhaps you were overwhelmed by the pressure to meet others' expectations, or you felt drained by someone else's negativity. These are moments when you allowed yourself to be pulled in, like a leaf caught in a strong current. But if you had practiced detachment, you might have been able to remain calm, like the river, simply letting things flow by without being carried away. The beauty of detachment is that it frees you. When you stop absorbing the emotions, judgments, and opinions of others, you can create space for your own thoughts and feelings. You begin to realize that you are not defined by others' views of you. Instead, you are the observer of your own life. There's a story from Buddhism that beautifully illustrates this. The story goes that a monk was walking through a village when a young man approached him and began insulting him. The monk simply smiled and continued walking. The young man, confused by the monk's lack of reaction, asked him, "Why didn't you defend yourself? Aren't you angry at what I said?" The monk replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The young man answered, "It belongs to the one who offered it." The monk nodded and said, "So it is with insults. If I do not accept them, they belong to the one who offered them." This story teaches us that others' words and actions are not ours to carry. We can choose whether or not to accept them. By practicing detachment, we can let go of the need to defend ourselves, to react, or to prove something. We simply observe and let things pass, like the river flowing on its course. Detachment also allows us to experience life more fully. When we are constantly caught up in the opinions and judgments of others, we are distracted from what truly matters. We focus more on what others think of us than on what we think of ourselves, more on how we are perceived than on how we perceive the world around us. This takes us away from the present moment, from the beauty of simply being alive. But when we practice detachment, we begin to live more authentically. We make decisions based on our own values and beliefs, not based on the fear of others' opinions. We speak our truth, not to impress, but to express who we truly are. We act with intention, not because we want to be liked, but because it aligns with our deepest desires and purpose. It's important to understand that detachment is not indifference. It's not about closing yourself off or becoming numb to the world. Detachment is about cultivating inner peace, so that no matter what happens around you, you remain centered. It's about having the freedom to engage with life fully, without being weighed down by the need for approval or fear of judgment. To practice detachment, we must first recognize when we are attached. When do you feel most pulled in by others? When do you feel like you cannot let go of their opinions? Perhaps it's during a conversation, when you start to feel the need to impress someone. Or maybe it's when you're on social media, scrolling through others' posts and comparing your life to theirs. Buddhism teaches us that the root of suffering is attachment to outcomes, to expectations, into the belief that we need to be better than others. But this comparison is a form of attachment that keeps us stuck. It traps us in a loop of judgment, self-criticism, and dissatisfaction. When we compare ourselves to others, we are telling ourselves that we are not enough. That's a painful story to live by, and it only leads to more suffering. Imagine if, instead of comparing, you simply focused on your own growth and progress. What would happen if, in every moment, you let go of the idea that you need to be someone else, and simply embraced who you are right now? The truth is, when we stop comparing, we open the door to genuine contentment. We begin to see our own value, our own path, and we realize that it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. We are enough, just as we are. You might think, but how do I stop comparing? It's so ingrained in my mind. The first step is to become aware. Notice when the comparison arises. Is it in a moment of insecurity? Is it when you feel threatened or uncertain about your own worth? The key is to catch the thought before it takes over. Once you notice it, you can begin to let it go. You don't need to push it away forcefully, just acknowledge it for what it is, a distraction from the present moment. Then, gently bring your attention back to where you are. Focus on the sensations in your body, the sounds around you, the breath flowing in and out. Slowly, you'll train your mind to return to the here and now. This practice of staying present is the heart of mindfulness. It's about grounding yourself in the moment, not allowing the mind to wander into the past or future, not letting it leap into the comparisons of other people's lives. The more you practice mindfulness, the less power those comparison thoughts have over you. You become less attached to the idea of needing to be like someone else, and more focused on what you can do, how you can grow, and how you can enjoy the life that's in front of you. But you might still be wondering, what if others are really doing better than me? Shouldn't I want to strive for that? It's natural to want to improve, but remember, The journey isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. When you compare, you're looking at someone else's external success, but you don't know what's happening in their internal world. They may seem happier, wealthier, or more successful, but are they truly content? Are they at peace? You cannot judge another person's life based on what you see. Everyone has their own struggles, their own pain, and their own path. Comparing yourself to someone else only steals your joy. It pulls you away from the beautiful simplicity of your own journey. Instead of focusing on others, focus on small, simple improvements that can bring you peace. Start by being grateful for the little things. Your health, your relationships, the beauty around you, the moments of stillness. When you shift your focus inward, you will begin to see that the most important thing is not how you measure up to anyone else, but how you embrace your own life, with all its challenges and its blessings. It's about recognizing that your path, your pace, and your experiences are uniquely yours, and that's what makes them valuable. In Buddhism, this practice of being present is often referred to as right mindfulness. It's about living each moment fully, without distraction, and without clinging to the past or future. It's about being free from the endless cycle of comparison and judgment. When you cultivate right mindfulness, you stop looking for validation from others, because you realize that you already have everything you need within you. You are enough. Living in the present means not only letting go of comparison, but also letting go of regret and worry. It means accepting that there will always be people ahead of you and behind you, but that doesn't diminish your worth. It means being okay with where you are right now, trusting that each step you take is enough. The journey is the destination. So, next time you find yourself caught in the trap of comparing, take a deep breath. Step back into the present moment. Notice the beauty of your own life. And remember that there is no one else you need to be. You are already on your own perfect path. The more you let go of comparisons, the more you will find peace in the present. And in that peace, you will discover that you are enough, just as you are. Ego and suffering, how self-identity creates mental chains. The more we cling to our identity, the more we suffer. This is the teaching of the Buddha, and it's a lesson that can be difficult to understand at first. It's easy to think that who we are is solid, permanent, and unchanging. We identify with our job, our appearance, our social status, and the roles we play in life. But what if these labels we wear are nothing more than illusions, creating a barrier between us and true peace? Think about the times you felt frustrated or angry. How often does it stem from something personal, something that touches on who you believe yourself to be? Maybe someone criticized your work, or a friend didn't invite you to an event. In these moments, your ego gets hurt, and your reaction is immediate. The sense of I and me is under attack, and your mind gets caught in a whirlwind of negative thoughts. Why does this happen? It's because of the way we tie our sense of self to external things. We let the world around us define who we are, and when those definitions are challenged, we react with suffering. The ego is a trickster. It convinces you that you are your job, your relationships, your reputation. It says, I am successful because of this, or I am important because of that. But the reality is, all these things are impermanent. Jobs change, relationships fade, and reputations can be lost in an instant. So, if your identity is built on these things, what happens when they are no longer there? The ego has no answer for that, and it leaves you feeling lost, confused, and hurt. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment. Attachment to ideas, to things, and most of all, to the self. The more we cling to our ego, the more we resist the natural flow of life. We try to control everything, protect our image, and defend our status. But this effort only leads to stress, frustration, and anxiety. True freedom lies in letting go of these attachments. When we stop identifying with the ego, we open ourselves to peace and clarity. It's not easy to let go. Our entire life we've been taught to value our achievements, our appearance, and how others perceive us. These things are often seen as indicators of success or worth. But the Buddha reminds us that these are just fleeting constructs. They do not define who we truly are. Beneath the surface of our ego lies a deeper truth, a truth that is unchanging and peaceful. Imagine for a moment that you are not your job, your social circle, or your reputation. What if you could simply exist without the need to prove anything to anyone? What if your worth was not dependent on how others saw you? This is the freedom that the Buddha spoke of. It is the freedom from the constant cycle of seeking validation and approval. It is the peace that comes when you stop defining yourself by external things and embrace the essence of who you really are. Something far more profound than any label can capture. The ego feeds on comparison. It thrives when we look at others and measure ourselves against them. I'm better than them, or I'm not as good as them. These thoughts are the food that keeps the ego alive. But when you stop comparing, when you stop measuring your worth against others, the ego loses its power. The mental chains that once bound you are loosened. And in that freedom, you can simply be, without judgment, without fear, and without the need to prove anything. The practice of mindfulness helps us see the ego for what it is, a fleeting thought, a passing story. It's not who we truly are. By observing our thoughts without getting caught up in them, we can begin to unravel the grip of the ego. When you notice the thought, I am not good enough, or I need to impress others, simply observe it. Don't engage with it. Let it pass like a cloud in the sky. With time, you will notice that these thoughts don't have to control you. They are just thoughts, nothing more. It's important to remember that letting go of the ego does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It does not mean that you stop caring about your work or your relationships. It means that you no longer tie your sense of self to these things. You can do your best in everything you do, but your happiness will no longer depend on the outcome. You will no longer need the validation of others to feel good about yourself. When we let go of the ego, we also let go of the need to be right. How often do we argue or defend our opinions simply to protect our image or sense of self? The ego wants to be seen as superior, as the one with the right answers. But when you release the need to be right, you open yourself to learning and growth. You can listen to others without feeling threatened, and you can engage in conversations with an open heart, free from the need to prove anything. In Buddhist teachings, the ego is often compared to a flame. It burns brightly, feeding on attachment and desire, but it is fragile and temporary. The wind of wisdom can blow it out in an instant. When we practice mindfulness, we extinguish the flame of the ego, allowing the light of clarity and peace to shine through. The more we practice, the more we understand that the ego is not our true self. It is a passing cloud, and we are the sky, vast, open, and free. So, what happens when we stop identifying with the ego? We begin to experience life in a whole new way. Without the constant need for validation, we can fully embrace each moment as it is, free from judgment and expectation. We stop measuring ourselves against others and start living in harmony with the flow of life. And in this state of peace, we find a deep sense of contentment, a contentment that comes from within, not from external sources. The ego will always try to make a comeback. It is a persistent force, constantly whispering in our ears, telling us that we are not enough, or that we must do more to be valued. But with practice, we can learn to recognize its voice and choose not to listen. We can let go of the need to defend our image or protect our status. Instead, we can simply be, embracing the truth of who we are, free from the chains of self-identity. This is the path to true freedom. It is the path of liberation from the suffering caused by the ego, and it is a path that anyone can walk if they are willing to let go of the false sense of self and embrace the vast, open space of who they truly are. So, the next time you feel hurt or frustrated, ask yourself, is this my ego speaking? Take a moment to pause, breathe, and observe. You may find that, in that moment of stillness, the ego fades away, and peace takes its place. True confidence, building self-worth beyond social approval. When you look in the mirror, do you see someone you're proud of? Or do you feel uncertain, doubting yourself, wishing that you could change certain things about your appearance, your personality, or your life? We've all been there, struggling with the desire for approval, yearning for validation from others. It's natural to want others to like us, to feel that sense of belonging and acceptance. But here's the truth. True confidence doesn't come from what others think of you. It comes from within. So, what is confidence really? It's not about looking perfect, speaking eloquently, or having everyone admire you. True confidence is the quiet assurance that you are enough, just as you are. It is the belief that your worth isn't defined by the opinions or judgments of others. Confidence is an inner strength that arises when you stop seeking approval from the outside world and start accepting yourself fully, imperfections and all. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you hesitated to speak up in a conversation because you feared what others might think? How often do you stop yourself from doing something you truly want because you're afraid of being judged or rejected? The fear of judgment can keep you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, paralyzing you from moving forward in your life. And yet, when you stop caring about others' opinions, you unlock a level of freedom that few ever experience. Imagine if you could live without worrying about what others thought of you. What if you could simply be yourself, without the constant need for external validation? How much more peaceful would your life be if you could just embrace who you are, regardless of others' approval or disapproval? The problem with seeking external validation is that it's never enough. You may gain praise or compliments from others for a while, but deep down, you'll still feel empty. That's because external validation is fleeting. It's like trying to fill a cup with water when there's a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it will never stay. True self-worth, on the other hand, is solid. It's unshakable. It comes from knowing who you are and being at peace with yourself. Think back to a time when you did something that truly made you happy, regardless of what others thought. Maybe it was pursuing a passion, trying something new, or standing up for something you believed in. How did you feel in that moment? It probably felt freeing, didn't it? That's the feeling of being connected to your true self, beyond the judgments and expectations of others. In Buddhism, there is a concept called non-attachment. It doesn't mean you stop caring about others or the world around you. It means you stop attaching your sense of worth to external things, such as the approval of others. When you're attached to the opinions of others, you give them power over your peace. But when you let go of that attachment, you regain control of your own happiness. This doesn't mean you should stop caring about how you treat others or how your actions affect them. It simply means that you shouldn't let other people's judgments define your self-worth. You are not defined by what others think of you, nor are you defined by your mistakes or your successes. Your worth is inherent, and it comes from your ability to live in alignment with your true values, your purpose, and your own heart. Every time you stop seeking approval from others, you take a step closer to true confidence. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop second-guessing your decisions and start making choices that feel right for you, rather than worrying about what others will say. This is the power of self-trust, the foundation of real confidence. Building self-confidence is a practice, not a destination. It's something you nurture over time. It's about showing up for yourself, even on the days when you don't feel your best. It's about acknowledging your strengths without bragging, and being kind to yourself when you make mistakes. True confidence is knowing that you're doing your best, even when no one is watching. We live in a world that constantly tries to shape us, to make us conform to certain standards of beauty, success, or behavior. But the truth is, those standards are fleeting and ever-changing. What's considered perfect today may be irrelevant tomorrow. So, instead of chasing someone else's idea of perfection, why not define your own? Why not live your life according to your own values, desires, and dreams, rather than constantly measuring yourself against an external benchmark? When you stop measuring yourself against others, you give yourself the gift of freedom. You begin to embrace your own uniqueness, your flaws, your strengths, and your individuality. This is the key to lasting self-worth, accepting yourself fully as you are, without trying to fit into someone else's mold. True confidence is about owning your story, your past, your struggles, your triumphs, and your journey. It's about recognizing that you are not perfect, but you are perfectly yourself. And that, in itself, is something to be proud of. The next time you find yourself seeking approval or wondering what others think of you, remind yourself that your worth doesn't depend on their opinions. Instead, take a deep breath, look within, and remember, you are enough. The approval you seek is already inside you. You just need to learn to trust yourself and stop seeking it elsewhere. And as you continue on this path of self-discovery and self-acceptance, you will find that true confidence naturally follows. It is not a trait you need to acquire. It is already there, waiting for you to acknowledge it. The more you let go of the need for validation, the more you step into your own power, becoming the most authentic version of yourself. So, take a moment right now and ask yourself, who am I when I'm not worried about what others think of me? The answer, I believe, will be the key to unlocking your true confidence. The wisdom of emptiness, seeing the world without bias. Sit down, take a breath, and listen closely. There is something you must understand, something that can change the way you see everything. Your mind is full, overflowing with thoughts, opinions, fears, and judgments. You look at the world through a lens shaped by your past, by what you've been taught, by what others have said. But what if I told you that none of it is real? What if I told you that everything you believe, everything you cling to, is just a story created by your mind? Look at a tree. You might say, it is tall, it is green, it is old. But the tree does not say these things about itself. It simply exists. It does not care about being tall or green. It does not care if someone calls it beautiful or ugly. It does not carry a name in its own mind. The labels exist only in your thoughts. The tree is empty of all the meaning you give it. And yet, it stands strong and complete. Now, look at yourself. What are you? You have a name, a past, a personality. You have beliefs about who you are, about what you can and cannot do. But are these things truly you? Or are they just thoughts, just ideas you've gathered over time? If you remove them, what remains? If you stop clinging to the labels, to the judgments, to the fears, what is left? Emptiness is not nothingness. It is freedom. When you see the world as it is, without the weight of opinions and expectations, you begin to understand true peace. The suffering you feel does not come from the world itself, but from the meaning you attach to it. Someone calls you a fool, and you feel hurt. Why? The words are just sounds. They have no power unless you give them power. Let them pass like the wind, and they will mean nothing. Think about the times you have been angry, hurt, or afraid. Were you reacting to reality, or to the story in your mind? If someone ignores you, you might think, they don't respect me, they don't like me. But perhaps they were lost in their own thoughts, struggling with their own burdens. The truth is, you do not know. And yet, your mind creates a story, and that story controls you. Drop the story. Drop the judgments. Drop the fear. When you stop labeling everything, you see with fresh eyes. You experience life directly, without the filter of your past. A bird sings, and you hear it without thinking if it is pleasant or unpleasant. The wind blows, and you feel it without resistance. You simply exist, just as the tree exists. And in that, there is peace. The great Zen masters speak of the beginner's mind, a mind that does not assume, does not judge, does not cling to what it knows. A child looks at the sky with wonder, seeing it as if for the first time. Can you do the same? Can you let go of your opinions, your certainty, and simply be? You may ask, but if I let go of everything, what will I become? The answer is simple. You will become free. You will no longer be trapped by ideas of success or failure, of good or bad, of praise or criticism. You will move through life lightly, like a leaf on the river, adapting, flowing, without resistance. Many people believe they must find the truth, that they must have the right answer to everything. But the wise do not seek answers. They understand that truth is beyond words, beyond thoughts. The moment you define something, you limit it. The moment you decide what something must mean, you close yourself off from seeing it in a new way. Do not be quick to judge. Do not be quick to believe. Hold everything lightly, like water in your hands. If you grasp too tightly, it slips away. If you let it rest gently, you can hold it without effort. This is the way of wisdom. Look around you. Everything is changing. Nothing stays the same. The person you were yesterday is not the person you are today. Your thoughts, your emotions, even your body, all shifting, all moving like clouds in the sky. If nothing stays the same, why cling to any of it? Why hold on to things that will fade? Why fight against the natural flow of life? A wise person does not argue with the river. They do not try to stop the wind. They do not demand that the sun rise earlier or set later. They accept things as they are and move with them, not against them. Now, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Feel the air enter your lungs. Feel it leave. This is real. This is now. Everything else, the worries, the fears, the opinions, is just noise. Let it go. Open your eyes and see the world as it truly is. Not as you expect it to be, not as you wish it to be, but as it is. And in that moment, you will know true peace. The silent mind, mastering the art of non-reaction. In a world filled with noise and distractions, the mind often feels like a storm, constantly spinning with thoughts, judgments, and reactions. Imagine, for a moment, standing in the middle of a turbulent ocean. Waves crash around you, pulling you in different directions, but despite the chaos, you remain perfectly still. This is the essence of mastering the art of non-reaction. It's the ability to experience life without being swept away by every wave of emotion, every ripple of external influence. When something happens that triggers us, someone says something hurtful, an unexpected event shakes our routine, or a mistake is made, it's natural to feel a rush of emotions. The mind reacts instantly: anger, frustration, embarrassment. But what if, instead of reacting, you could simply observe these emotions without becoming entangled in them? What if you could let these emotions come and go, like clouds passing through the sky, without allowing them to disturb your peace? The Buddha taught that suffering comes from our attachment to things, people, experiences, and most importantly, our emotions. When we attach ourselves to our feelings, we give them power. We become slaves to our reactions, constantly shifting with every change in our environment. But what if we could learn to let go of this attachment? What if we could simply watch our emotions arise and fade, without letting them control us? This is the path to true freedom. Let's consider an everyday example. Think about the last time someone cut you off in traffic. Your heart raced, your mind filled with thoughts of anger, and your hands clenched the steering wheel. In that moment, your body and mind reacted automatically. But imagine if, instead of reacting with frustration, you took a deep breath and simply observed the situation. You might notice how the anger arises and recognize it for what it is: a fleeting feeling, not a reflection of who you are. It's a passing cloud, and it doesn't have to control you. This ability to respond, rather than react, is what the Zen teachings refer to as the silent mind. It's the mind that doesn't immediately jump into action when something happens, but rather, it remains calm, centered, and present. In this state, you are not defined by your reactions, but by your awareness. You become the observer, not the participant, in the drama of life. In Zen practice, the focus is on cultivating mindfulness in every moment. Whether you're sitting in meditation, walking, or even talking to someone, the goal is to remain aware and present, without becoming caught up in the ebb and flow of your thoughts and emotions. This is where true peace lies, not in controlling your thoughts, but in learning not to be disturbed by them. Imagine being in a heated argument with someone. Instead of instantly firing back, you pause, take a breath, and simply listen. You allow the words to come and go without judgment, without the need to defend yourself. In that moment, you are not reacting. You are simply observing the flow of the conversation, like a river flowing peacefully by. The words may still sting, but your inner peace remains undisturbed. This is not to say that you suppress your emotions or pretend they don't exist. It's not about being numb or detached from life. Rather, it's about acknowledging your feelings without being controlled by them. You become the master of your inner world, able to experience life fully without being at the mercy of every external trigger. The practice of non-reaction requires patience and dedication. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a skill, one that is cultivated over time, through mindfulness and awareness. But with consistent practice, you'll begin to notice a shift. You'll find that the more you observe your thoughts and emotions without reacting, the more peace you experience. The more you let go of your attachment to them, the more freedom you gain. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of emptiness is often discussed. Emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. It means a state of openness and freedom from fixed beliefs and attachments. When your mind is empty of reaction, it is free to respond with wisdom and compassion, rather than with fear, anger, or judgment. This emptiness is not something you strive to attain, but something you uncover. It's already within you, buried beneath the layers of conditioned responses and attachments. The more you practice non-reaction, The more you begin to uncover this innate stillness and clarity, you become like a clear pond, undisturbed by the slightest breeze, reflecting the world as it truly is. In your daily life, the practice of non-reaction can take many forms. It might mean taking a deep breath when someone criticizes you, or simply observing your thoughts without judging them. It might mean letting go of the need to control every situation and allowing life to unfold naturally. It might mean responding to challenges with patience and compassion, rather than frustration and fear. Over time, you'll find that the more you practice non-reaction, the less power the world has over your inner peace. You'll stop feeling like a puppet being pulled by the strings of external circumstances. Instead, you'll become the calm center, watching the world spin around you without being disturbed by it. True freedom doesn't come from changing the world around you. It comes from changing your relationship with it. When you stop reacting to every external event, you free yourself from the endless cycle of emotional highs and lows. You begin to experience life from a place of inner stillness, where peace is your natural state. This is the essence of Zen practice. Not to escape the world, but to engage with it fully, without being overwhelmed by it. It's the art of living in the moment, without being attached to the past or future. It's the ability to respond with clarity and compassion, rather than with anger or fear. And most importantly, it's the ability to live with a silent mind, one that is not disturbed by the noise of the world, but instead finds peace in the midst of it. As you continue on your journey, remember that the silent mind is always available to you. It's within you, waiting to be discovered. All it takes is the willingness to let go of your attachments, to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, and to simply be present with what is. In this silence, you will find the true peace that you seek. A mind at peace, the ultimate freedom from others' influence. Imagine, for a moment, that you have finally reached a place of calm. Your mind, once filled with constant noise and distractions, is now clear. No longer do you find yourself entangled in the opinions of others. No more worrying about what they think or say. You feel free, free from judgment, free from comparison, free from the need for approval. This is the power of a mind at peace. It's hard to imagine a life without the constant pressure of needing to impress, to please, or to conform. We've been taught that our worth is tied to how others see us, that our actions must always align with societal expectations. But what if we told you that this isn't the way to true freedom? What if the secret to living a fulfilling, peaceful life lies in letting go of the opinions of others? This isn't just about avoiding stress or freeing yourself from constant worry. It's about discovering your true self, without the mask, without the filters. It's about standing in the power of your own being, with no need for validation from the outside world. And this is exactly what Buddhism teaches us. True peace comes when we stop allowing others to dictate how we should feel or think. It's easy to get lost in the noise of the world. We see people posting their perfect lives on social media, hear others talking about what's cool or right, and we start to believe that we need to follow suit. But when we stop and reflect, we realize that this is all an illusion. It's a world built on comparisons and judgments that have nothing to do with who we are at our core. When you stop thinking about others, you begin to connect with something deeper inside yourself. You begin to realize that your happiness doesn't depend on their approval or acceptance. Your life is yours to live. Your choices are yours to make. You are not a product of others' opinions. You are a reflection of your own truth. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. In time, the need for validation fades away. You stop seeking praise or recognition because you've already found the greatest approval within yourself. You understand that you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to please everyone. Your worth isn't determined by anyone else. It's determined by your own actions, your own intentions, your own heart. So, what happens when you live this way? What happens when you free yourself from the need for others' validation? You find peace. You find joy. You find freedom in simply being. You realize that the opinions of others are just that, opinions. They don't define who you are. You are not bound by what others think of you, and in that liberation, you become truly alive. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others entirely. It doesn't mean you stop loving or supporting the people in your life. It simply means that you no longer allow their views of you to control your emotions. You no longer allow their judgments to shape your decisions. You remain true to yourself, knowing that your worth is not tied to their approval. Imagine waking up each day with a sense of freedom, a freedom that comes from within. You no longer spend your mornings worrying about what others might say about you. Instead, you start your day with purpose, with intention, knowing that you are already enough, just as you are. Your actions are driven by your own values, not by what others might think. This is what it means to be free. Free from the need to impress. Free from the need to fit in. Free from the need to be anything other than who you truly are. You've let go of the burden of others' opinions, and in doing so, you've made space for your own happiness, your own peace. True freedom comes when you realize that the only opinion that matters is your own. When you understand that your self-worth isn't based on the judgment of others, you open the door to a new kind of life, one that is filled with inner peace and true contentment. At first, this journey may seem difficult. You may feel the urge to seek approval, to compare yourself to others. But with time and practice, the shift becomes permanent. You start to recognize the patterns of your thinking, and you learn how to quiet the voice that constantly asks for others' validation. Buddhism teaches us that we must cultivate detachment from the world of external validation. When we do this, we begin to see the world as it truly is, not as we wish it to be, not as others tell us it should be, but as it is in its purest, most unfiltered form. And in this clarity, we find peace. When you embrace the idea that the opinions of others are fleeting and ultimately unimportant, you free yourself from the endless cycle of worry. You stop reacting to every little comment or judgment, and instead, you respond with a deep, unwavering sense of calm. Your happiness no longer depends on external circumstances. It comes from within. This is the ultimate freedom. The freedom to be yourself, without fear or doubt. It's the freedom to live your life in alignment with your true values and beliefs, not the ones shaped by others. When you let go of the need for validation, you create space for the most important thing in your life, your own peace of mind. Now, as you take the final steps on this journey of self-discovery, remember that peace is not something you need to search for outside yourself. It's already there, within you, waiting to be uncovered. All it takes is the willingness to let go of the illusion that others' opinions matter. When you do that, you'll find the peace and freedom that has always been yours. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you have subscribed. So please, if you found value in this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating content that empowers and inspires. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear how this message has impacted you. Remember, the journey to inner peace is a lifelong process. Keep practicing, keep letting go, and keep embracing the freedom that comes from no longer being bound by others' views. Your mind is your own, and it is capable of true peace. You are free.